Cool. Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Entertainment Headquarters, and welcome to another Let's Talk Live. So this basically is my segment on the channel that happens every now and then, where I pick a group of amazing guests, and we'd just like to talk shit about entertainment, movies, television, whatever it may be. And I was inspired this week, thanks to it getting close to Jaws. That's right, our good big teethed and finned friend, Mr. Jaws here, who is turning 50 years old. That's right, he's turning 50. And because he's turning 50, yep, what an old shark indeed. But there's a hell of a lot more sharks that are a lot older. But he's the big birthday boy, and because it is his 50th anniversary, and I did a tribute video called Jaws Legacy, which is available on the channel to watch. I thought to myself, why not take it a step further, and why not continue the celebrations by dedicating this Let's Talk Live to shark movies, the good, the bad, and the ugly of it all. And of course, to talk about Jaws and to talk about shark movies. I decided to invite a few friends of mine who are a big fan of Jaws and shark movies. So please welcome Mr. Big Bad Wolf, Mr. Jedi Granville,
The sexiest of chocolates.
You know it.
and of course, Mr. Anthony Jordan of Anthony Jordan Movies and Gaming. And we've also got our friend Mr. Jake Hall watching us today.
What's up, Jake?
Hello, Jake. So, first and foremost, sharks are such a fascinating animal. They've got so much mystery behind them. They're like a connection between the present and the past, just the way they're operated. So, I'll ask everybody, what's your opinion of sharks in general and what you think makes them so fascinating and make a great character to project on screen? So, Mr. Big Bad Wolf.
So I will say this, the number one thing is they've been around much longer than even crocodiles have. Like they're literally they're probably the oldest living thing on the planet. And so it's amazing to see, and they never had to adapt at all or anything. They've stayed the same throughout the years. Maybe they shrunk smaller, some may have gotten bigger, but they've stayed the same. And there's a lot of mystique behind the animal because one, they make no sound. There's no sound to them, no growl, no roar. All you hear is just chomps, and that's it. They're like the owl of the ocean. You'll never hear them coming. And they're also such a very misunderstood animal because as more of these films come out, because of how popular it is to make these kind of films, the more people get a misconception on what the animal is actually like. That they think, like for example, the popular trope people like to use is they can smell a drop in the water, which is not that they can smell blood drop in the water. What happens as soon as that blood drops in the water, it sends electrical signals to the receptors on their snouts that it alerts them, hey, there's something nearby. It's not because they can smell blood. It's once the blood drops, it sends electrical signals to those receptors on their snouts. And then they go, oh, I got to go investigate. It could be prey. Who knows what it is, which is the same when it comes to splashing. Splashing sends those same signals of prey. And we see that with crocodilians. Crocodilians are the same way.
What about you, Jedi? What's your personal feeling like the fascination of sharks?
Well, my goodness. I mean, Big Bad Wolf pretty much brought off some good things, some good distinctions of sharks. I mean, I guess sharks, because there's such a mystery, I think that's the reason why there's such an appeal to not just, the fear of them, but the fascination of them, because, they're just that. They're not something that you got to take lightly. I mean, you feel like something that's so, I mean, true enough, they're dangerous because of the teeth, but it's the mystery of, like I say, the eyes, their eyes are so like, mystery in itself, because they're literally like so dark, it's like you're looking into the window of nothing, and it's like, what is it thinking? It's like it's thinking a lot. In fact, sharks are probably one of the more intelligent creatures on the planet, depending on how you point it out. I mean, some people might say sharks, although they would say dolphins are a little bit more intelligent than sharks or in humans, but from what I'm gathering, through years, the misconception is sharks are just these, like some other things in the wild, big dumb animals. But it's like, no, they have a very good intelligence, rare intelligence that probably supersedes even some dolphins, some land animals, hell, who knows, even some humans themselves, because they are that particular kind of species, and it's amazing that the attraction, just the the fear of them, it still reigns strong now. I mean, even before the original Jaws came out, there was this kind of fascination with them. But once Jaws hit the screen, then it's like, okay, we really got a fascination with it. And it's like, maybe we could just, like, say, study on it more, because, like I say, the fascination with them is just there, and it still rings true now, even 50 years later.
Yes. What about you, Anthony?
Just fascinating. They are a misunderstood creature. but they're still every bit as deadly as they are fascinating. They're a life that's completely alien to our type of life. And even though attacks aren't as common as you may think, if you're in the immediate vicinity of one, you're entering at your own risk. Probably nothing's going to happen, but they're also equally beautiful creatures to look at, too. I was at the shore one time fishing with some friends, and I actually hooked a baby shark about this big. And
Wow.
I actually, before I let it go, but before I did, I actually took the chance to hold it close and just examine it, because I was like, this is probably my only chance to ever get this close to the shark. So I made the most of it, then tossed it back in the water and let it swim on its way.
Yeah.
What kind of
Like,
shark?
What do you know what shark it was, Anthony?
I can't remember. I just remember it was a baby shark. It could have been a bull, but I don't want to be held to that.
Mm. So, for me personally, when I think of sharks, I find, like everyone else, I find them so fascinating, and they're the perfect creature or animal to be featured on screen as an antagonist or as just, to be featured in its film. And thanks to Jaws, as we've mentioned, it started its own genre that is continued to this day. Just like way back when you had a handful of maybe creature features in the 1950s, it was Godzilla that really kicked off the kaiju genre. And so here we are when it comes to sharks. Jaws is the movie that really kicked off not just the shark genre, but after Jaws came out, there was many films that tried to duplicate its success. So you had Orca, you had Grizzly, to name a couple. And it's kind of continued that way, that every major filmmaker or film studio tries to create a creature feature that has some sort of influence from Jaws itself. So with that said, we're here to talk about shark movies in general, the good ones, the bad ones, the ones that aren't so good. So who would like to start off with a shark movie? Anyone can start, and let's talk about it. We'll start with Mr. Jedi Grand Velle.
Okay. Well, I mean, you know what? It's kind of funny because I was kind of gazing through a couple of the ones that I was saying that was related to sharks, and I got to pick out this one because it's the one that's been so abundant for the past near 30, no, not 20 years now, over 20 years. And that is the series of Sharknado films.
Oh no.
Yes. Let's look, if we want to talk about influence or bad or whatever, let's get the really bad. Yes. Let's get the so bad it's actually kind of good scenario here, okay? Because Sharknado, when I first heard about this film, I was kind of like, okay, are y'all being really serious with this, And it turns out, and I've seen like I think 2 or 3 of them already. I've seen the first one, I think I've seen the second one, and I haven't seen the last. I haven't seen all of them, and it's like 6 of these films, and you think to yourself, why are there like 6? You think like stop at 1, don't go no further than that. And here we are, we're still talking about Sharknado, and I think there was someone saying there was going to make another one, and it's like, really? I mean, you're going to go that far?
I think with Sharknado, what really surprised everybody, it is so bad, it's good.
Yeah.
And the thing is, it became like a pop cultural phenomenon that basically, when it was released on Sci-Fi, nobody expected it to do well, but it actually became a hit.
Yeah.
And because it became a hit, that they ended up spawning it out, and it started having like not like a really decent stories, but at least they had story. The first one and maybe the second one at least had a story. Once you got past the second one, everyone was tuning in just to see who was cameoing in the movies. They became like a cameo of everybody who was on television, like reality television, or
Al Rooker was in one of the films where he gets attacked.
Mm-hmm.
Because it was like doing like when the morning show would do like the weather broadcast. It's like, okay, today, so we'll be expecting, and a shark just breaks through the office and just attacks him.
So that's what I think drove it further to success, is because people were tuning in to see who would make a cameo and who would get killed. Like, you probably had like people like Gene Simmons from Kiss in, you had different like well-known singers, you had like I say actresses and actors from times gone by, as well as the big buzz of reality television. Like, I remember one, and it had some of the people who were on The Real Housewives. Don't know which one, because I don't really watch it that much. I see it when it appears on the television. So I remember seeing bits of things like that. So that's what drove the popularity of Sharknado.
Yeah, I mean, let's be honest. I mean, it's the whole purpose of Sharknado was taking one genre and putting another one together and just see how it spins out, But it all comes from the influence of Jaws, the original shark film. I mean, it's kind of uncanny because it's like, and the thing about it is, it's not to take itself seriously. This film, where Jaws is taken really seriously, Sharknado is like I say, we're just having some fun. We're just throwing this out, and they wouldn't expect it to be popular. They weren't expecting that. I mean, the whole purpose of when they made this film was to say, we're just cracking jokes, we're just doing this, and we're just gonna see how far we can go with it, and blah blah blah. But they didn't count on
like the even. I'm sure they even did like a piss take of Evil Dead, where Tara Reid, I think the actress, she loses her arm and she sticks a chainsaw on her arm.
I never saw that.
So she literally becomes Ash with the chainsaw.
I think I did see that. I think I remember seeing a few clips of that.
So I think it's either the third one, because I know I've watched the first two from start to finish, but as the other ones trickle down, I haven't watched them, but I've seen like the odd clip. Yeah. And there is a clip where she's basically, her arm's being devoured by a shark, and she ends up just gluing a chainsaw to her arm, and she's running around like killing the shark with the chainsaw hand.
Yeah. So we can honestly say that even these films say, well, let's kind of poke at some other things that are inspirational.
Yeah, the spoof out other movies and other famous films, some other genres.
They are literally becoming like the Family Guy or the Simpsons of shark films.
Right.
Because they find so many ways to just pop in jokes. Oh, yeah, I know that series, Jake. Mega Shark.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Oh, yes.
Mega Shark versus Octopus is still my favorite one.
Yes.
Yeah, that was the first one, and then there was that one. Then I caught it was a Croctopus or something.
Yeah, it was Crocosaurus.
Yes,
and then the third one was Mecha Shark.
Yeah,
and then it was against like that. It was inspired by Attack on Titan. I think it was called the Colossus or something.
Yeah, and then there was another series that was. It was Sharktopus versus Whale Wolf.
Yes, that's how far they were going with it. I was like, oh my god, man, how far are they going to go with these things?
Well, it's sci-fi. What do you expect? Once they make a film, it ends up being like, you know what? Let's keep making these kinds of films to see where we go with this.
Well, yeah, I actually was going to bring that up because I actually really like the Sharktopus movies, and you know what I love about it? The sheer design.
Yeah.
That looks. Now imagine if that was kaiju size.
Mm-hmm. But that's being creative, though. Yeah, exactly. I mean, because it's not that big. I think it's about the size of the Jaws in because the Jaws in Jaws is named Bruce, believe it or not.
Bruce the shark. Yeah.
And it's about that size, I mean, if it was like kaiju size, that'd be much more horrific.
It almost looks like its very own Souls boss.
Mm-hmm.
And the finish of the the more fantasy type shark movies before we get into the more serious one, there is obviously two other ones that I'm a fan of. Of course, this one.
Oh,
Megalodon, yes.
Megalodon.
And of course, following Megalodon, but I only like the first one. We
Okay.
have to have the Meg.
Not the second one. I'm like,
Yeah, the second one they went two balls to the wall with it.
I got one since we're talking about some of the more fanciful ones.
Mm-hmm.
And you mentioned the good, the bad, and the ugly.
Yeah.
Peter Benchley's Creature. It's a little bit of all three combined.
Oh,
yes.
dang!
I've
I
never
need to check that out. I need to check that out now. I like the design of that monster.
Even I've not seen the creature, but
And
isn't the creature though? If you can correct it if I'm wrong, Anthony, but wasn't there a book, and then they had released the film, but then the original title was Great White.
Yeah, it was White Shark, and then
White Shark.
And when the TV movie came out, they reprinted the book titled Creature.
Because the actual thing in it, even though it says White Shark, it's not a shark, I believe.
It's a shark that had its DNA tamped. It's a little different in the book, but in the basic, it's a shark that had its DNA tampered with. There's shark, dolphin, human DNA. And as you see, it kind of gains more human features. And again, like you said with the other one, imagine this kaiju sized.
Yeah, very true.
And that'd be a fun fight between that and Kong.
He's not credited on the cover, but this also has a younger Giancarlo Esposito who would go on to play Gus in Breaking Bad. So if you want to see one of his earlier roles right here. Mix of good, bad, and ugly, but I'd still say check it out just to say you've seen it, and the practical creature does look great.
Yeah, I'm looking at that right now. That looks amazing.
And is that's based on the book that was written by the same writer as Jaws?
Yeah, Peter Benchley's White Shark, which for my money, it's probably his best book.
Oh, more awesome. So, John, did you select the movie?
If I had to think of one, it'll be a more recent one I saw, I think, a couple of years ago. It came out on Amazon Prime. I remember my friend who got me into my fitness journey. He's a big shark buff. Like, he loves Jaws. He likes the Meg because he likes the concept of what's in the ocean. Because we always talk about how the ocean has never been fully explored, so who knows what's down there that we are unaware of. There could be a kaiju in the ocean, but we don't know because we never explored it fully enough because it's too dangerous. But there was a film I watched that came out on Amazon Prime called Black Demon.
Black Demon.
Yeah, that one's...
Oh, yeah. Oh, yes. That's right.
Yeah, that one's pretty interesting. That one's pretty interesting. It blends in a little bit of Mexico's folklore and ties it into the shark. And it's like this guy trying to work on an oil rig. And
based on a legend, isn't it?
Yeah, it's based on... I forget which mythos it is, but it's based on a mythos within Mexico. And the shark is tied to that. I think it's like a curse or something. And the shark is that demon from the mythos. That's like, he's cursing the oil rig because of how it's damaging the ocean's environment.
Okay.
And that one's like an indie film as well, because when you watch it, it feels more like an indie film, but I say it's like the Dog Soldiers of shark films.
All right. That's high praise. Dog Soldiers, at least. Here's a film that I recently watched, like last year. I had seen the trailer, but the trailer makes this film look way better than it actually is. I love the concept of it. It's basically where a plane crashes into the ocean and sinks, and it's like on the edge of a ravine, underwater ravine. But obviously the way the planes hit the water, it's created an air pocket in a certain space of the plane. So there's people surviving in this air pocket. And there's a big gash at the side of the plane, and it starts letting sharks in. And they've got to try and survive. And it is a film called No Way Up.
Oh, 40,000,
Yeah.
47 meters down. I remember that film.
Yes. So this film, because it is created by the people who did 47 meters down, I had high expectations, but I'll be honest, I was slightly disappointed in it. But it's
Then there-
available. I believe it might be available on Netflix, I think, or Amazon Prime.
There's another film too that's made by Sci-Fi. I forget what it's called, but it's about these people who get captured by this psycho billionaire, and they're put through to go through this entire maze. And it's like each maze or phase each phase of the maze they go through, they encounter a shark. But each shark would be like it'll be small, but as they go up, the sharks get more deadlier and deadlier. Again, I wish I remember the name of the film, but it's like this billionaire's mad at these people because they're responsible for his son being dead, in which his son was a piece of crap. And so he got mad and captures them and places them all in there. So they're going through. So one could be like, "Oh, there's a bomb attached to you, but the key is over there. But watch out! There's a bloodthirsty hammerhead swim. Oh, that's what it is. Thank you, Jake. Shark Island.
Oh, okay.
And so they're pretty much taxed to try to get through all of that.
So basically, it's Saw with sharks.
Yeah, pretty much. It's like want to play a game, except the game involves, oh, hey, not only do you need to get this obstacle done, but you need to avoid that shark over there.
Interesting. That sounds like a fun film. Since I've already mentioned it before, I really do enjoy that.
Oh, that one was really decent.
This one was a really good shark movie. For me, obviously nothing beats Jaws, but this is definitely, if I had to do a top 5 or 10 in sharks, which I think I did do a top 10 in shark movies, but there's been that many that came out since, so I might have to do a second one to update it. But this is definitely a one that I do enjoy, and I believe there's 2 sequels.
I like that one, but I thought for what the premise was, it did go on a little too long for its own good.
Can you remember the names of the sequels? 47 meters down the wreck, I believe, is the third one that's coming out. I just can't remember what the second one's called.
I wasn't even aware they were making a series out of it.
Yeah,
I figured it was a one and done kind of thing.
No, there's a second one, and the second one's interesting as well. But the third one's called The Wreck, called 47 meters down the wreck. Now
47 meters down, uncaged.
Uncaged. All right, so you've got Uncaged as the second one.
Oh, Dan Velle came up with one.
Oh, let's have a look. Hello, Daniel. Thanks for joining me, my friend.
Shark Attack, yes.
You mean these ones, Dan?
Believe it, Anthony.
Wow. See?
But then, if we need to, you mind if I mention a couple of games that were pretty much good for the shark genre?
Yeah.
So there was one I played that came out a few years ago that made me get a PC because it was going to be strictly to PC at first, called Maneater. And the premise of that is you play as this baby bull shark, and you go throughout your stages of life growing because this bad fisherman that has a hook for hand literally kills your mother, cuts you out, and then throws you to the wind. And so your goal is to grow up and kill him. And so one of the inspirations to that game was Jaws Unleashed, which came out on the PS2 years ago.
Oh, yeah.
By the end of the game, you get a Godzilla-style heat ray.
Yeah, that's in the DLC. Yeah, you become like this mutant atomic shark, and you literally fight a Mosasaurus that pretty much is Godzilla.
All right. Isn't there a popular mobile shark game?
Yeah, I think it's called Hungry Shark.
Yeah, that's really popular. Dan Filliman, if you're there, if you're watching, if you want, you can join us if you're available. The link is in the group chat if you would like to jump on and talk more shark and give us your knowledge. You're more than welcome to jump in.
Jump on, Professor.
Yes, please jump on. Now, while we're in discussion of talking about sharks, I do want to mention how Jaws has kind of influenced some other types of sea creature films that I feel are very enjoyable, but some are a little bit like too much. Like
put it away, Professor. Put it away.
Professor, no.
No,
don't entice
Look,
Kevin.
Don't release the shark, please. Don't do that.
Don't release the Kraken.
Don't worry,
Exactly.
it'll be like Baby Shark. Do 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 do.
No. But I'm assuming that everyone here has heard of this South Korean sci-fi horror film called The Host.
Yes.
Yeah.
Love it. Love
That
it.
is a wonderfully made film that I feel that it's very underrated, but it does have the styles of what Jaws brought to life in terms of it's not necessarily a shark, but it's a creature that can literally, like I say, walk on land, but swim too. And the funny thing about that is, like Jaws, of course, the shark is the main character or the attraction.
Yeah.
To the film, whereas this is not necessarily the creature, although it's appealing. It's the emotional human niche.
It's the family drama.
Yes, it's that connection there. That's why I feel like that one that doesn't get that. And believe it or not, it's played by the same guy who did, if anyone's ever seen this film, which is another good film he did, Parasite, which I feel is a very good film. But that's just give you an idea. That's like it's amazing how those influences influence this particular film.
Yes, very true. But before we continue, let's welcome Mr. Daniel Miller, the Professor.
The Professor! Welcome!
So nice of you to come by.
Yes, where's your pipe?
Thank you for bringing these up. Good to know I'm not the only one that remembers.
Wait, which movie?
The Shark Attack movies. It's all three of them.
Oh, I remember the Shark Attack films, actually.
This is the first one.
Oh, cool.
Here, Dan, I'll join you. I got my grandpa's corncob pipe right here.
A man of culture.
So, since you, obviously, Dan, you brought up Shark Attack, we've brought up a lot of the more fantastical shark movies. But is there any of the more grounded, serious shark movies that you're a particular fan of?
Okay, depending on the term grounded, the first two installments of the Shark Attack trilogy by New Image Films, they're what you would say grounded. So the first one begins in an African fishing village, which is besieged by great whites who are attacking the local population. The reason behind this is that scientists are extracting their enzymes from their brain matter to cure diseases, which when you think about it, does feel like something borrowed from the Deep Blue Sea.
Yeah, I was about to say, that sounds a lot like Deep Blue Sea.
Yeah. But then Shark Attack 2 quite literally jumps the shark as it plagiarizes the plot of Jaws 3D, where one of the sharks captured from Africa is displayed in a marine attraction. Again, in Africa, of course, it gets loose and there's a killing spree. Then we have Shark Attack 3, Megalodon. Now, let's see, Megalodon stars, what's his name? The actor who plays as Captain Jack Harkness from Doctor Who and Torchwood. And the plot follows a lifeguard who soon discovers that a prehistoric megalodon has been unleashed due to a greedy corporation doing mining off the coast of Italy. This is a movie that's famous because of three visual effect shots with actual footage of sharks. One of them is a shark snatching a passenger mid-air as he jumps off a boat.
Oh, I've seen that. That's a very viral clip from that film.
Yep. The other one...
That actually happened?
Yeah, it actually happened. The other shot is the same shark, but he changes size to swallow an entire life raft and then goes back to his normal size as he swallows a man on a jet ski hole. You know what? The man doesn't even try to avoid it. He just plows straight into the jaws of a man.
I have a feeling
the scenes are very basically photoshopped together.
Something tells me the Meg took it. Something tells me the Meg took inspiration from that, because it sounds a lot like what happened when they killed like the baby and then the big one comes out of nowhere. That sounds very similar to
I
that.
think if anything, would have taken inspiration from the Meg, because I think the book predates this movie.
Yes, it does.
Oh, that is true. I keep forgetting they were a novel series before they became a film.
Okay.
Yep.
But I do have an image here, if I can get it up.
Don't put it away.
So this is just a few fantastical films. As you can see, you've got land shark or sand shark there. You've also got a one that we haven't mentioned, which is definitely a fantastical film, but over the top. It is obviously like the 2-headed shark attack, then 3-headed shark attack. I think it's up to 6.
Danny Trejo played in the third one. In the second one, it was Kevin Sorbo and Carmen Electra.
Yeah, and don't forget Hulk Hogan's daughter, Brooke Hogan, was in there, a couple of them.
Oh, I didn't even know that.
Yes. So of course, as you can see, because of them films, her acting career took off. She's now a massive Hollywood star. Obviously,
I will say this: the land shark. I never seen land shark, but it just makes me laugh because of all the skits that you had in comedies of a land shark.
Yes.
Because when I was in scout camp, that was a classic skit the staff would pull off. Was the pesky land shark doing the milk ram delivery?
Yes, that was Chevy Chase pretending, on SNL. He knocks on the door, and Gilda Radner was mostly the victim, and he said, "Telegram." He just says it so softly, and she's like, "Telegram." It's like that. And when she opens the door, he just like takes it. That's that big puppet and just chomps on her and everything. So it's like it was a great skid, but I love it though.
Yeah. So when I saw that land shark film on that screenshot you showed us, Kevin, that's all that made me think of was those skits from Scout Camp.
Yeah, I know that there was a shark.
Oh yeah.
So I don't know if these were connected, but there were all these different shark films coming out at the same time. There was land shark, there was sand shark, there was a shark, then there was, I think, volcanic shark.
I was gonna say, I think
lava sharks.
Lava sharks.
Yes. And then there was house shark.
Yeah.
House shark. Okay.
Yeah, it's literally a shark in a swimming pool. It's basically the ghost of a shark that goes anywhere provided there is water.
And
what more do you want?
The
ghost shark.
The plumbing.
And also, I have here now, Walter. You may know this one. The others, I don't know, but from an Italian filmmaker starring James Franciscus.
The Last Shark.
The Last Shark. Yes, I do believe I heard that. If I'm not mistaken, wasn't that retitled Tentacles, or was that something else?
No, that was
something else.
Yeah, that was something else.
This movie was actually titled Jaws 3 in some territories.
No,
in other words, it's also titled Jaws Returns. And it's easy to see why, because it's an Italian ripoff of Jaws. But you've got to appreciate the some of the miniatures and effects work that went into this. It's so bad it's good enjoyment levels.
Well, it's kind of funny you bring up the fact that it's an Italian ripoff, because when I mentioned Tentacles, oh God, okay.
Oh, I think I've been meaning to see that one.
Has anyone seen this one?
I haven't seen that one.
I've been meaning to see that one.
Jeez, when did that come out?
The one the professor's talking about, it had Vic Morrow before that tragic incident on the Twilight.
Yeah.
So he mentioned about Italian Jaws ripoff. All that makes me think of is that recent Netflix film Under Paris.
Yeah.
Well, that's oh my God, I can't even talk about that.
I will say this: it wasn't too bad, but what threw it off for me, what killed it for me, was the terrible dubbing. It was worse than Final Wars.
No, that's not what made it bad. I mean, I can stand the dubbing. What I couldn't stand is the incredible stupidity of the characters in this film. I mean, they do whether it be the mayor or this girl trying to prove that these sharks won't attack nobody, won't harm them. I'm like, you know what? Y'all deserve to get eaten. Y'all deserve.
Yeah, I would say I tried to watch it. I remember at one point I accidentally fell asleep, woke up when half the movie was done. I remember seeing just the dubbing, whenever they're talking, the words were matching the lips. And I'm like, what the hell? I'm like, this is worse than Final Wars.
Yeah, right.
I haven't seen it yet.
Me. Oh, carry on, Anthony.
I haven't seen it yet, but what shot that movie in the foot more than anything was the press promos calling it the best shark movie since Jaws. It
No,
said
they did the same thing for The Shallows.
Oh, The Shallows is another good one.
Shallows is a way better movie than Under Paris. I'm
Anthony,
sorry.
they reused the tagline you just said. They reused the same tagline.
Really?
Yeah, it's
Okay.
right
Best
there.
I
film
feel
since
like
Jaws.
people should refrain from using that because that's just dooming the film to failure.
No, what it means is they're smokers. They're sniffing something really hard for them to think.
They're having, instead of a corncob pipe, they're having a crack pipe instead.
Going back to Last Breath, that only came out last year. The thing is, it looked way better than Under Paris, but it's Under Paris has been hyped up, like you said, as being the new Jaws or whatever. But I heard that this film is fairly decent, and I heard no promotion for it whatsoever.
No,
So
that's the first I'm hearing about it.
So, how come that's getting promoted? Not getting promoted, but you get that piece of shit Under Paris, which me and Anubis destroyed in our core review to get out of the movie.
Which I applaud you for.
We could not even think of anything to say. It was like we were struggling to review it in the first place. But unfortunately, because of the overhype and because it got a major influence because of the tagline "Best Film Since Jaws," unfortunately, it did extremely well in the Netflix, and they are making a direct sequel.
Oh no!
They are doing it Under Paris too.
So you
I remember hearing about that.
Oh,
I was doing so well until you said that, and now I was like, "Oh God, we got to get."
We're killing the fight for water here.
Yes, I
Well-
mean, 'cause that's no.
I got something to remedy that. Now,
Please.
Anthony, I'm sure that you're familiar with this one. This is the Jaws ripoff that has to be seen to be believed.
Absolutely.
Cool.
It's
Jaws.
starring not Hulk Hogan.
Yes. Otherwise
It's
known as
literally a
Jaws
Hulk
5.
Hogan you would buy off of Temu.
Yep. Yep. Now, although it says William Snyder as the director, that's actually not the name. This film was actually directed by Bruno Mattei. For those who don't know, he was an Italian filmmaker who pretty much made rip-offs of all of the big blockbuster movies of the time. Like, if you think of Rambo, he did Strike Commander and Strike Commander 2. He then ripped off Zombie 3. I mean, he did Zombie 3, which had nothing to do with Zombie or Zombie 2.
Anubis.
What up, Anubis, brother?
And even, I think at some point, he was involved in the rip-off of Alien, whether that was called Alien 2 or another movie, I don't know.
So
But
basically, he was like the Asylum before the Asylum became a thing.
Sounds about right.
Yeah, at least the Italian version of the Asylum.
If it's popular, Bruno Mattei will rip it off.
Yep.
Yeah.
But this movie, oh boy, where to begin with this movie? Where to begin? Okay, I'll condense the plot as best I can. A greedy real estate developer has his eyes set on the town aquarium and will not stop at anything to get his hands on it, even if it means poisoning the dolphins with rat poison. Meanwhile, there's a tiger shark, trained by the United States Navy as a weapon for World War II, on the loose and killing the population. Although it's called a tiger shark, they don't use any footage of a tiger shark in the movie. It's all great white footage from either National Geographic or the Jaws movies.
And
That
the
we
last shark heavily.
That makes me think.
Yes.
Well, that makes me think of is the grizzly, because there's a scene when they encounter a black bear. They shoot like, oh my gosh, it's actually a baby. We can put it here to look. It's like, are you freaking kidding me? That's a black bear, you imbecile. That's not a baby. Baby grizzlies don't aren't that big at that age. That's an
What's
adult black bear.
Funny too about the one the professor's talking about. One shot, you'll see a frame from Jaws 2 where the shark's all scarred up, and then the next shot, it's not scarred up.
Yes, yes, that's right. Another thing I've noticed is that there's, as well as this using footage from the Jaws movies, they also use footage from, as you've said, from The Last Shark, and it's literally the shot where the shark gets its head blown off at the end of the movie, and it's like, wow, they didn't even bother; they just used the exact same effects from another movie. But then but it's the characters really that you should be aware of in this movie.
There's a scene where this guy, he's obsessed with finding the shark, and his girlfriend gives him an ultimatum: it's me or the fish.
Yeah.
I would have said, well, you smell like I would have been like, what? You smell like fish, or it doesn't really make a difference.
Let us guess he chose the fucking fish.
Yeah.
Yeah. But it doesn't stop there. The soundtrack. The scene where the characters go out to sea to hunt the shark, the music crescendos into the Star Wars theme.
Oh my god!
Oh
no.
my lord! Really?
What is this baseball? What is this baseball? But with sharks?
He has a question: how the hell did they get away with it?
Because it sounds like someone tried to replay the Star Wars theme from memory, and it's not exactly note for note, but it's close enough.
Let me guess. Is it with kazoos?
No, it's not. It's not with kazoos. Unfortunately, no. But that's not even half of it. There's even a scene where they literally rip off a line of dialogue from Jurassic Park, where the not Hogan is scolding one of the town bullies who says, all you have to do is put a bullet in his head and it's fucked. Am I right? He's like, the tiger shark we're looking for is a homicidal maniac. If it strikes you here, or it goes to your belly where your guts are out, you're still alive when he starts eating you. So you should have more respect for him.
Oh gosh.
I've got another film that I do like. This is the serious tone.
The Reef.
Oh, The Reef. Yes.
I think I've been meaning to see that one too. I've been meaning to check that one out.
Yes. So, what are your guys' opinions of those who have seen it of The Reef?
I actually liked it.
I did as well. I thought it was really good. There's another one that's similar to The Reef where they get stranded, like they get knocked on the other side of the boat and they're like just floating in the water and they can't get back up.
Anubis has a comment on The Reef.
Yeah.
Oh, that's it. Okay.
Yes, it is.
Okay.
Yes, I 100% agree, Anubis. And we've also mentioned your favourite dark movie, Under Paris. We know how much you are looking forward to the direct sequel.
Don't torture them.
Yeah. Now I have two other films to mention because you mentioned The Reef, Kevin. Are you familiar with Open Water?
That's the one I'm thinking about.
Why does that one sound familiar? I feel like I've heard that one before.
Yes, it's
okay, so it's about a couple on a honeymoon. They go on vacation. Yeah. They go on vacation, then, and because they're doing a dive, they get left behind by their boat.
Yeah.
And
they're left in the water.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. They're left out in the water to die, basically. It's a very drawn out and very agonizing story from that point when they're left in the sea.
Wasn't it based on a true event?
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah.
It says so in the making of. And another film, which I have to say, it's a guilty pleasure, but it's one of my personal favorite guilty pleasures in terms of shark movies from... it's from Active Entertainment. I thought it was from The Asylum, but it's actually...
I think Sci-Fi also did that film. I think the Sci-Fi Channel also did that film, Swamp Shark.
Yeah.
What's it called?
Swamp Shark.
Pretty much a shark in the bayou.
I was gonna say it got to be in the bayou, like say in Louisiana, most likely.
Yes, definitely. I mean, I don't know what the music's like in Louisiana, but the opening soundtrack pretty much tells you everything that you're going to get in the movie.
Okay. You don't have no
Crawfish and
back.
Cajun.
Yeah. Here in the bayou, you know. Like, yeah,
Down by the bayou.
If you don't feed the shark gumbo, you're fucked.
I mean, look, it makes me think like, is the shark going to do a little like down, 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 down.
The shark just pops up.
It's like the little delivery. It's like down, 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 down. I'm like, okay, here we go.
All I can think of is someone gets
If
lost.
you don't have gumbo and he's feeling charitable, you can probably get by with some boudin.
True.
Yeah. The shark is playing the banjo, and you're like, "Excuse me, sir, which way is back to town? Which way is back to town?" It's like, "It's back the way it can." And he starts chasing you.
Yeah.
Wait, hold on.
My mama took a chance on me.
I know where that's from. Yes.
So here's one more that I've discovered.
Now I've heard of this, but I have not seen it. Yes.
I've heard mixed things about it.
There's also Shark Night. Have you guys heard of that one?
I've heard of Shark Night. Yes.
Shark Night wasn't Shark Night where they tried, after the success of Piranha 3D, they decided then they did a second Piranha 3D. It was to capitalize on this. Yeah, it was to capitalize on the success of those 3D movies. So they created Shark Night, but I'm sure was there another one called Bait?
Oh, I think I've seen that one.
Yeah. Now Bait, that's the one that takes place in a shopping complex in Australia that gets hit by a typhoon.
Yeah, they're like stuck inside a mall, and they have to try to get out, but also avoid the sharks.
The strange thing about Shark Night, though, is for some reason they went PG-13, so they couldn't go too far with the premise.
That's kind of weird. I mean, if you got the shark, why not just go full blown with it?
Dark Water. I think I've heard of that one.
Yeah,
I've heard of that, but I haven't seen it.
Basically, the plot of Dark Water is Holly Berry plays a marine expert who returns to the water after being traumatized by a shark attack. Upon her return, she's facing the horror yet again when the shark is killing her and her friends off one at a time.
There is a film that I did review which has a very beautiful woman in it. I'm just gonna get it up and show you.
Yeah, you get it up. We'll watch.
Why would you watch him get it up?
I'm just saying.
Well,
I mean,
it wouldn't be the first time, would it, Walla?
No. I'm just adding hilarity to this. That's all.
Just having a little extra. No, Professor.
Add fuel to the flame there, folks, Professor.
Well, I got it.
Oh,
this particular film. Yeah.
Fear.
Is it Green Fear? Yeah, what was I say?
1 second.
And okay, we see you.
Deep
Fear. Okay. Yes.
So that's available on Netflix.
Okay.
And it's basically the story of that is a woman who is suffering post-traumatic stress because of her father dies in the water, and she's a diver. It's what her career is. And she basically she goes on a boat. Then she goes on like an expedition, and then they find another boat that's capsized, and it turns out that there's two survivors of the capsized boat, so they bring them on board. Suddenly, the two people turn over with guns, and it turns out that their boat was capsized because there's another boat at the bottom of the ocean underneath that boat that is sunk, and it's got hundreds of bags of cocaine because the drug smugglers. So they basically force her to go down into the water to trying to receive the bag, but at the same time, the sharks have been swimming around and have been getting into the bags, and it sends them into like a frenzy.
Yeah.
Something tells me that reminds me, Kevin. I think they're going to be coming up with a sequel to Cocaine Bear, along with Crack Coon called Cocaine Shark.
Wait,
yeah,
hold on.
Probably.
Kevin, why does that premise sound so much like Cocaine Bear but set in the water?
It might possibly, but the thing is, unlike Cocaine Bear and Crack Raccoon, it's more serious. It takes it much more serious. The CGI of the shark isn't great, but you know what? I would rather watch that again over Under Paris. It's
Yeah,
not
I'm
the
never gonna touch Under Paris ever again.
it wasn't like the best shark film, but I liked the plot. And the lead actress of it is just beautiful, and she does a great job. So if any of you have got Netflix, check it out. It's like a reasonably good B movie.
Yeah.
But speaking of CGI, that's not best all. Deep Blue Sea was
No, I do want to mention this
No,
about Deep Blue Sea. What makes Deep
No.
Blue Sea so unique is it doesn't use a great white shark. It
You're
focuses
thinking-
on the mako shark.
Yep.
Well, he's not talking about Deep Blue Sea. He's talking about the film called
Say it,
Deep
Anthony.
Blue.
You know which movie that he's talking
You
about.
mentioned Jessica Alba. I think he meant Into the Blue.
Blue.
Oh,
Oh yeah.
It does have
My
some
bad.
stuff sequence, but no, that's not it.
Yeah.
Sorry,
My
man.
bad.
Yeah.
Yes.
But yeah, speaking of not so good CGI, who knows this one?
yeah,
Yes.
we
No,
actually brought that one up earlier. The
Did you?
entire mako shark
Yes,
scene.
yes, I did bring that up. I did put up a picture, Daniel, of like the more fantastical shark movies. As you can see, I do have the Mecha Shark versus Octopus or whatever.
I will say, out of the entire series, the best ones, in my opinion, was Mega Shark versus Giant Octopus and Mega Shark versus Crocosaurus.
Mm.
Yeah.
Those were my favorites.
The Deep Blue Sea was kind of brought up.
Yeah.
What about Deep Blue Sea 3?
No, really? It made
It's actually surprisingly decent.
Is it?
Yeah, I never realized they made a trilogy out of it.
It takes place after the second one, which you don't have to watch, but the sharks are actually bull sharks in this one.
Okay.
And it's kind of set at this research facility that's like a bunch of houseboats, so it's a floating village, and it reunites two cast members from the last ship, so seeing them back together was nice. It's not great, but it's light years better than the sequel and just surprisingly decent.
Yeah, I will say this. One thing I can't appreciate is that they're using sharks other than the great white. Like, that's why I like Deep Blue Sea and not that one, because I like that they're using more sharks like the bull shark and tiger shark, which are more known to attack people than the great white.
The bull shark in particular, I feel like, is a huge missed opportunity for movies because it's one of the, if not the most aggressive species of shark.
Oh, yeah.
It's been known to attack just for being in its vicinity.
Yeah, like the rule of thumb is if you're in the area and the bull shark isn't even there and he's passing through a few minutes later, he's not going to bother you. But say he's right in the area and you come in and he was right in the area before you, he's going to attack you.
Yeah,
That's true.
So yeah, bull sharks are a lot more territorial. And Anthony, we were talking about the shark you caught earlier. You mentioned you didn't know which one it was. It could have been a baby bull shark, because it's a bit more known to go closer to shore than other sharks. Like bull sharks will actually chase you to shore.
Has anyone seen a shark film called Fear Below?
No.
I feel like I heard of it, but I don't think I've ever seen it.
Does it involve a plane?
No, you're thinking, I think that's the one I mentioned, which is No Way Up.
Oh, all right.
Okay.
Redwater, I've never heard of that one.
I've never heard of that one.
Redwater, if that's the one I think it is, it's set in the Mississippi River or somewhere, and it does have a bull shark in it.
Yeah. That wouldn't be surprising to me because, like I say, you would never think that sharks could go upriver as far as like.
Bull sharks can be both freshwater and saltwater, which is why in the man-eater game I mentioned they chose a bull shark because bull sharks you can go in both freshwater and saltwater.
Bulls have been found so far up the Mississippi River they were near St. Louis.
Yeah, there's been one found in St. Louis, Missouri before. There's even one found within the Great Lakes.
Yeah.
There's another film that came out last year, which I heard about but didn't have a chance to view it. It's called Something in the Water.
I think I heard that one
I
too.
didn't hear about that one either. That's what I'm saying. That must have slipped past me. Something in the water.
Hmm.
No.
Something in the Water.
No, that's what I'm saying. I mean,
So-
see, if it didn't get much press, and that's another thing. If some of these films don't get enough press, you know, you're not really gonna. It's gonna fly, and I know for me, it's gonna fly under my radar, so I probably won't hear about it. But you know, usually you will hear it when someone else mentions it, and they'll say it is a pretty decent film.
Yeah, you would have to hear from some diehard fan in order to finally hear of it. Sorry, Kevin.
Yeah.
So the plot of the movie is a group of 5 friends must fight for their lives in open water after a dream wedding turns into a nightmare.
Okay.
So
somebody was a wedding crasher then, huh?
Yeah.
yeah, so obviously something must happen and they must get left behind or something.
Guess someone opposed the wedding.
Yes.
Someone was definitely jealous anyone gained some.
Well, you know what? Maybe it's a sign of saying that if one of them is an infidel, and it's like this is the reason why the shark is appearing. You know, you never know.
Or maybe it's just a thing that wasn't meant to be.
Either that, or she could have had her rag out.
Now,
there's a one that. Oh, sorry. Sharktopus. Yes, we've talked about that one.
Yes.
Right.
But there's another one that came out in 2022 called Man Eater.
Didn't hear about that one. See.
So the concept of Man Eater is after an accident during their vacation on a paradise island, a group of friends is stalked by a large shark.
Okay.
I think I may have heard of that one. I'm going to look that one up real fast.
Really doesn't sound that intriguing. I mean, we've heard that plot point before with
The funny thing is, there's another creature feature film called Man Eater, and it involves a Bengal tiger that's on the loose.
Yes. Yeah, you've also got one that's simply called Great White.
Yeah, I've heard that one.
Cage Dive. Have you ever heard of Cage Dive?
I don't think so.
Cage
Dive? Oh, well, that is actually Open Water 3. So there's actually more than one.
Open
water. Okay. So much open water. You think they close it down by now?
Now, before we go any further, Kev, I mean, I mentioned the host, but let's kind of mention one that really is another influence in terms of, you know, shark infested waters or just shark altogether. Deep Rising, which I feel is a very, I mean, it's cheesy, but it's a very wonderful blend of something that Big Bad Wolf was saying, something that's coming deep from under the water, and it's a huge whatever, and it attacks this cruise ship, and it's all about a heist, but we find out the heist is going to be thwarted by this underwater creature that's going to pretty much mess up their plans.
It reminds me of The Thing. The movie poster and the monster's design, it's like their own rendition of The Thing, except it's in the water instead of in the Arctic.
Yeah.
Yeah, I know DJ Anubis and Mr. Tony have recently done that on Goals at Midnight. If you haven't checked it out, please get over and check out that particular review of theirs. I'm a big fan of Deep Rising. I love how it mysteriously ends where they leave, you know, sorry for spoilers, but they get onto land away from this giant creature, and then you think there's something coming towards them, but it's never actually revealed what the other entity is. I was hoping if they did a sequel, it could have been something like a Monsterverse where there's different creatures that this particular character kind of meets up with, and he's got to defeat different monsters throughout the course of the series, which I was assuming the way it ended, they were hoping for a sequel, or to at least turn it into some sort of fantastical series, which would have been fun.
Right.
So you mentioned that film. That makes me think of another film that kind of explores the entire deep underwater of the unknown. That's 2020's Underwater, which at the end, spoiler territory, there was a particular well-known horror creature that shows up near the end of that film that has been confirmed to be that horror creature.
Okay. I think I've heard of it.
Has anyone heard of the 70s movie Monster Shark?
Yes.
I have.
There was also sci-fi. There's also sci-fi's Dino Shark.
Yeah,
I've
Monster
seen
Shark.
Dino Show.
Yeah, Monster Shark has basically been remade as Sharktopus, but instead of taking place on the California coast, it actually takes place in the marshlands, where a mutant hybrid of a shark and an octopus is going around killing people in the marshlands. Yeah, that's it, devilfish.
Okay.
I would have loved that. Anubis, great thinking. I would have loved that.
Somebody said, I was thinking that same thing.
And if anybody has seen the Skull Island animated series, which is connected to the Monsterverse, that actually features a kraken creature. So
that would have been perfect.
That would have been a perfect link.
And a devilfish directed Lamberto Bava, son of Mario Bava.
Nice.
Have we mentioned this one?
I don't think so.
I feel like I've heard of it. I feel like I heard of it somewhere.
But that doesn't feature great whites or tiger sharks. I don't know.
That's a sand tiger, it looks like.
Yeah, that's right.
Now, this film is the greatest shark film of all time. It's going to be the greatest film that's going to precede Jaws, because it is a film that will put the fear of God in you, and I'm being very serious.
Okay.
Shark
No, I've heard
it. Kevin, don't get us like that, man.
Oh no, but I know about this one.
That reminds me of, I think it's called Raptor Priest.
Velocipastor.
Where it's a guy who, Philosopher-Priest or something. It's like about
it's
this
Velocipastor.
Velocipastor. It's about a guy that literally turns
Never
into a
heard of it.
Velociraptor.
No, never. Yeah, I was gonna say I've never heard of this.
Never heard of
What?
it.
Jaws?
I heard it was a piece of shit.
I heard it sucked worse than Paris.
Right?
Well,
Cue the comments now.
yes.
Bring in the chaos.
And speaking of Jaws, of course,
Yeah.
we can't not talk about Jaws without mentioning its many sequels. Now,
Yes.
I've been very vocal that Jaws 2 for me is, it's probably, nothing will beat the first Jaws, but I would definitely say Jaws 2 is the closest of a film that had a sequel that was just as good as the original.
Very decent.
I absolutely
very good.
love Jaws 2. Jaws 3, it's a fun little romp, but it's not the best. And I'll let everybody else talk about Jaws the Revenge.
I'll let somebody go.
I would say it's Jaws the Revenge is kind of sad if you know a little bit about the little girl that plays Michael's daughter, like the actual actress behind that little girl. Because there was a very attractive story that was happening to her behind the scenes while that film was going on.
Yes.
Well, if I had to give Jaws the Revenge just one compliment, the scene where Michael gets attacked in that little submarine is a good little horror moment, but it's a good scene in an ocean of terrible film.
Yeah.
Has anyone ever knows there's that scene to where he gets out of the water thing 1 minute later, his shirt is dried as if he just got out of the laundromat?
Yeah. Another thing I give credit to Jaws the Revenge for is the soundtrack by Michael Small.
Yes.
If you just listen to it on its own, it's much better than the film it's used in. Another thing is, if you've read the book of Jaws to Revenge, based on a
They did a novelization of it.
yeah,
Oh,
based
and
on a screenplay by Michael D. Guzman, inspired by Peter Benchley's Jaws. They actually give a reason why the shark stalks Brody's widow from Massachusetts to the Bahamas.
Because he's
Are
got
you
a
ready?
hold on.
No. Okay, so here it is. Michael, the oldest of the two Brody sons, lives in the Bahamas with his wife and daughter, and he accidentally gets on the wrong side of a voodoo priest named Papa Jacques. And as revenge, he calls upon his lower, which just so happens to possess a great white shark. So the entire story of Jaws to Revenge is a great white placed under a voodoo curse, and it's following a family to wipe out the bloodline.
Tell
It
them
sounds
about
like
the-
it sounds like the beginning of the film that we mentioned earlier, the Black Demon.
it gets
How
better.
that
Tell
like,
them about how the shark cures a guy of alcoholism.
Yes, I definitely will. So there's a part in the book which is from the shark's point of view. We're following it as it swims through the stream toward the Bahamian Ocean. And it comes across a guy sitting a boat who's about to throw himself overboard to kill himself because he's lost everything due to his drinking. He sees the shark dead in the eye, and the shark somehow speaks to him telepathically. And this one is like, "Yeah, I'm gonna sober up and I'm getting the fuck back to shore."
That reminds me of there's this one film called
I
Cabin in the
agree.
Woods. There was a
Yeah, that was a good
Professor. That
opening.
reminds me of Cabin in the Woods, to where this one guy's literally smoking weed. All the monsters are running loose throughout the building, and he looks. The monster's standing right next to him. He's like, "Gee, this stuff is trippy," and then gets thrown out a window.
Yeah.
That's one thing. All four of the Jaws movies did have a good opening kill.
Yeah,
Yeah, well, I can't
Sure.
agree to that, but I think, Professor, one takeaway from the beginning of Jaws 4, what you said from the book is, don't don't fuck with the gypsies.
no, no. And one other thing, they actually explain the purpose of Michael Caine's character being in the Bahamas. Because if you listen to the dialogue between Michael and Hoagie as they're tracking the shark via the heart monitor in the Bahamian Sea,
Mhm.
there's a throwaway line in there which says, "Well, there's lots of drugs on the island. I mean, what's Hoagie doing here?" Then later on, when they're flying out in the plane, Michael asks, "What are you doing when you're not flying people?" To which
I
Michael Caine says, "I deliver laundry." That's actually a reference to Michael Caine's character being an undercover agent of Interpol busting a drug operation in the Bahamas.
I thought he was a mule, actually.
Yeah, I was about to guess that it was an undercover drug operation.
Yeah. And then now Jaws 2, this is by the same author of the novelization Revenge, Hank Searles. This is superb in this one. It's more in line with Benchley's novel. And of course, it keeps up with the mafia subplot and actually shows Amity Island as more of a ghost town than anything else. Yep. Anthony has it too. So yeah, in this version, Amity Island is more of a ghost town and more run down and very derelict as opposed to how it appears in the sequel.
Yeah.
And this movie, it actually is much more brutal when it comes to the kills, especially the two divers in the opening chapter.
Yeah.
And we actually get from the shark's perspective that this is the mate of the shark killed at the end of Benchley's story.
Yeah.
And it's actually carrying pups in its body.
Mm.
And it's actually explained in the opening of the novel of Revenge that the shark in that story is the last survivor of the shark family.
Wow.
Since Professor mentioned the whole ghost town thing,
Yeah.
if you read the the original book Jaws, in addition to the mafia subplot, the book also does sell home how a bad summer can financially cripple one of these communities for years.
That's right.
So it's also one of those things where it's like, for everyone's well-being, this could actually kill us to shut the beaches down.
Yeah.
Well, that's what basically happened with the success of Jaws, the first one,
Yeah.
is that it financially had an effect on beachside communities because people are literally generally frightened to go to the waters because of the success of Jaws and because of the sheer fear. And it also caused issues within the sharks themselves. The sharks were being hunted left, right, and centre because of this all-out fear, thanks to the film.
Mm-hmm.
And keep in mind, not everyone had complete knowledge on sharks, unlike today. So, although we knew of them, we knew that there were various species, they were still an enigma. But a lot of research that happened in the intervening years has actually broken that stereotype to quite a significant degree.
Yes, and sharks, though, are still fascinating and terrifying. And I want to bring up, while we're here, two films that have fascinated me that I haven't seen yet because one isn't it's just finished post-production, and the other one has just came out now. Yeah, it's had a good set of reviews, and it's a shark film with a twist, and it is called Dangerous
Oh, I'm
Animals.
actually interested in that one.
Same.
So the concept of Dangerous Animals is basically it's about a serial killer who has an obsession with sharks, and he basically captures his victims and places them in mind games and traps, and then by the end he lures them down and feeds them to sharks. Jay Conte is the lead actor in this, and apparently he does one hell of a performance. So if you haven't checked out my trailer reaction for this one, it is available on the channel. And for those that haven't seen the trailer for this, I would go ahead and check it out because it's well worth the watch. And it's definitely probably one of the only shark films in a long time that's really grabbed me interest because it isn't just a shark film. The second movie that has definitely got my interest, and I think will grab all your interest, stars Sam Worthington, who was in Avatar. And it's finished production, and it is called Alpha.
Oh, I've been eyeing that one for a long time. I think that was been in production for about 2 or 3 years.
Yeah, it's been well. I think it was going to go into production, but as we know, the pandemic fucked up a lot of things.
Yeah.
There also, of course, there was also because he was doing the Avatar film, Sam Worthington, there was a bit of delay. But the plot of Alphas is followed. After a series of great white shark attacks threatened to derail the economy of a quiet seaside town, a former local surfing legend and a retired orca trainer teams up to unleash their natural adversary against them. So it's basically going to be this surfer and an orca whale versus a whole group of sharks, great whites. So for me, that's a really interesting concept and really grabs at me. It's another film that isn't based on a shark, but is also based on a whale. It's called Whalefall, which stars Josh Brolin, where basically he gets swallowed by a sperm whale, and basically the community are trying to figure a way to free him from the sperm whale, and he's only got so many hours oxygen to survive. So two very interesting shark movies there coming soon. Well, one that's out now, one that's heading our way later this year. But since we're talking about Jaws, and this is dedicated to Jaws, I wanted to talk about a very important scene within that movie. And of course, it is the Indianapolis scene.
Yeah.
And the reason I'm bringing the Indianapolis scene, which was all ad-libbed so beautifully, that here in the UK, the son of Robert Shaw, Ian Shaw, decided to dedicate and co-write a play based on the makings of Jaws.
Okay.
And it is called The Shark is Broken. And here is a photo of the cast against the actors in the movie.
Yeah.
They're actually pretty.
Now,
It's pretty
pretty
spot
good.
on.
Right.
Yeah.
yes, in the one who is playing Quint is Robert Shaw, and the one who's playing Quint in the play is his actual son, Ian Shaw.
Okay.
He's a ringer for his dad.
Yeah.
It is.
So I thought, because I'm really looking forward to when it arrives in Newcastle, I do really want to go see this play, just out of fascination. It is a comedy as well as, it will have serious tones and moments because it's based on, the characters making, like, Richard Dreyfuss and Rob Schneider, and it's about the actors and making the movie. And as you know, Robert Shaw
Richard
and
Dreyfuss.
Richard, they didn't get on that well in the movie.
That's what I heard. Yes.
During production, it was like, a balls test, messing with each other. It's like, but I wanted to show you a little glimpse of this show that is coming to the UK, and I'm hoping it will probably travel to the US. So here is the actual trailer for The Shark is Broken.
Okay.
The USS Indianapolis, June the 29th, 1945. 2 torpedoes from a Japanese submarine slammed into our side. We was coming back across the Pacific from Tinian to Leyte. Damn near 1,100 men went over the side. Lifeboats was lashed down so tight for the bomb run we couldn't cut a single one adrift. There was no rest.
He literally sounds like his dad to a T.
Oh, for God's sake, I can't say this. It's duller than my tax return. Who gets top billing?
Relatable.
Oh my God, you screwed us. Your name's higher and in the middle.
Bingo! Saints be praised! You're like a truffle pig, boy!
Boy, you are such a bad loser.
How many kids do you have?
9 so far.
You're gonna need a bigger boat.
What do you think it's about?
What?
This goddamn movie.
It's about a shark. Do you really think they're going to be talking about this in 40 years?
There you go.
I'm actually intrigued. That sounds like the Spaceballs equivalent to Shark.
Yeah.
What's,
On
So,
the desert.
what's
has
interesting
really-
since you mentioned that scene, if you read the book, that wasn't in the book. The information wasn't declassified yet.
Exactly.
And without that scene, Quint's character feels really incomplete.
Yeah.
I feel
Yes.
some too.
So it's due in Newcastle, I think, in November. It's done its rounds in London, then the actors are taking a few weeks off. Then they're gonna start up again. So when that hits Newcastle, I am gonna be there. And I'll probably do a review on the channel of just how good this thing is. Like I say, it's a mixture of serious and comedy, and it's about the making of the film that we are, been such fans of for the last 50 plus years, which is Jaws. So, we've talked about good and bad shark movies. Oh, we have a guest.
What up, Autistic
Hello.
Lizard?
Artistic lizard. What's up, brother?
Hello, welcome. So, of course, this play. Oh, another guest.
Maestro Megatron.
Hello.
Maestro.
Welcome. So, what's your feelings looking at this play? We'll ask us one by one. We'll start with Big Bad Wolf.
No, this is my feelings about the play.
Like, how do you feel looking at the trailer?
Well, if I was a play guy, I'd say I'd probably run to go see it because it looks hilarious. Because it pretty much makes fun of Jaws. It pretty much makes fun of Jaws as well as the actors, while also blending in some seriousness along with it. I mean, the part that caught me off the most was he he was going to need a bigger bonus. Like, it'll be bigger than my tax returns.
I like it when he said, "Oh, it's a movie about the shark. No one's going to be talking about this in 40 years."
Like, it's like, little do you know.
Mhm. Yeah. How do you feel looking at that trailer, Anthony?
It looks interesting. I've heard about this, and the premise sounds promising. I'll probably never get to see it in person, but can they like throw us a bone and put it on video?
I agree.
Yes.
Yeah, like watch it on like
would-
some kind of streaming service.
Well, don't forget, we have had instances where people have done a play based on like makings of certain movies, and then it gets turned into a movie itself. You know, like that film that we, when we did Taste the Blood, the Month of the Vampire, Shadow of the Vampire, was based around the maker. Yes, it was fantastical, but it was based on the makings of Nosferatu. You know, you had that film that came out with what's he called? Tom Hanks, Mrs. Something about Miss Banks, which was about the making of Mary Poppins. So
Yes, yeah, I know what you're talking about.
I don't think I
Yeah.
know.
So how about you, Daniel? What's your thoughts looking at that play?
I have to agree with Wolf and Anthony on this. It looks great. It has a really nice touch of portraying fact with comedy on it, which I understand is a tricky thing to do, but from what we've seen in the trailer, they look like they've pulled it off pretty well, and I think it's going to be a fantastic performance when we get the chance to see it. I do wish that if, as well as being able to see it at the theater on stage, it would also have a digital or a physical media release some point down the line.
Yeah,
So,
I
yeah,
don't
it
know
looks great.
I don't know if they do this in the US, but I do know in the UK, sometimes for local cinemas, like independent cinemas, and sometimes the bigger theaters, they do a live screening of plays in the cinema. So
Yeah.
this
They
will
did the
be
same
something.
thing for the Monty Python show back in the late 2000s.
Yeah, it was airing live in London at the Palladium, and then they broadcast it live from the Palladium into the screens and theatres for audiences to watch it on the big screen, which I never seen it, but I heard it was really great. This is definitely something I would go see in theatres if I couldn't get an actual physical ticket to see it in the theatre at the play itself.
You know
Yeah,
what's a real shame? We have the Jaws 50th anniversary Blu-ray. It's a shame this couldn't have been a part of it.
Oh, that would have been such a great bonus.
Well, in a way, it's been timed perfectly because the plays only started this year, so they've kind of started the run of the show for the 50th year of Jaws. So it started, I think, in February in London, and it's went for so long, and now it's going to end by the end of the year.
One thing I appreciate is a good fourth wall break.
Yeah.
Yeah.
How about you, Jedi? What did you think about the play?
I mean, that's such a refreshing look at, taking a stab at something that's a classic, but actually generating some sense of like, this is why we're taking a stab at it, because it's so, like I say, you say, that's kind of funny how if people really break down about the films, what makes them legendary, the film is legendary, but these guys are taking things that would happen behind the scenes and say that this is the reason why it was legendary, because we know about the shark breaking down. We know about the little twist between Robert Shaw and Richard Dreyfuss. We know about these things. We know about Steven Spielberg's frustrations dealing with all these things, and all. To me, makes me realize, like, this is why I say I wish more people would do stuff like this, like for Star Wars, for Alien, for even Die Hard, and say anything that was going behind the scenes. I would love to see that. And I'm kind of like Anthony. I mean, I wish they could have put this on physical media where it'll be on the bonus of the 50th anniversary of Jaws, but I mean, maybe along the lines, maybe they will do it because Nubis was saying something about maybe they'll record it and put it on Netflix. That'd be cool, you know. I mean, I would really love to see that because it's refreshing. It's to let you know that these kind of films or anything classic is never going to die.
Yeah.
I've got good news though for you. It is going to start touring the US.
Oh wow, really?
Oh wow.
So
Where?
it is heading to the US at some point, but it's focused on the UK from January 2025 up to December 2025. It's going to be it's basically because it is the Jaws 50th anniversary. They've decided to tour the UK its first year in its run here in the UK. So it's perfect timing to do this play for the 50th anniversary, and I'm sure they'll do some sort of tribute to the movie itself on stage. But this has been a blast, gentlemen. I've had a real great time discussing Jaws itself, talking about the history of Jaws, of course, and the different movies, good, bad, and the really bad.
Yeah.
So since I will be yes, yes, definitely. So final thoughts on Sharks and Jaws itself. We'll start with Big Bad Wolf.
I mean, Jaws pretty much changed the game when it came to horror films because Jaws was the creature flick. Now because of that, we get so many other ones like Alligator, Crawl. There was one coming out. If not this year, maybe next year that Anubis did a reaction on. I think it's called like In the Bayou or something. That looks really interesting.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, again, with sharks, it's like there's that mystique about them, the way they move, how they're designed. The only ones that have a very unique pattern in design would be whale sharks and tiger sharks.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe to extent sand tigers. Other than that, every shark is either a bluish gray, and then white at the bottom, because they're perfectly designed to where you will never see them coming if you were minding your own business. And by the time you knew what was going on, it'd be too late. But even with that, it's helped scientists really understand what these animals are like, because they're not these mindless killing machines the media likes to portray them as. They're just animals that live their life, and we just happen to be in the wrong place at the wrong time when it happens. Like the many people who get attacked by like there was an instance to where someone got killed by a female great white shark, and literally the only thing that was left of him was just his head and this collar, because it turned out that great white shark that fisherman encountered was pregnant. And so with that was like wrong place, wrong time. But most of the time, a great white will try to do a little bite test on you to see what you are, and then it will leave you alone. Most other sharks do express curiosity, but it's like, you guys got to look at videos of divers when they're feeding on a whale, because if they're focused on feeding on something, you can literally go up and pet them. If they're not focused and they're more focused on you, there's a way you can put. Like, there's so many divers that will like push them away.
Mm-hmm.
But it's like you don't want to shove them.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, sharks are just an amazing creature, and it's so interesting how all it took was one film for us to really want to get an understanding of them.
Yeah, that's true. Anthony Jordan.
Jaws, the progenitor. What more can I say? Great movie. I'm going to be joined by 2 guests tomorrow, including the professor, talking about it. It's the progenitor. It set the pace for what these creature movies can be and how serious they can even be, because in the hands of any other director and producers, this could have been a budget movie that was easily forgotten. And the shark itself is just such a great creature to put around these movies because of how fascinating they are. Like John said, like, some sharks might do an exploratory bite, but as big as some of them are, that's still enough to kill. One of my thoughts with shark movies, I keep going back to the quote from Deep Blue Sea when one of the scientists is talking and says, "Beneath its glassy surface, a world of gliding monsters, we choose to go into their world, into a environment that's totally alien to us, and for good or bad, we do so at our own risk.
It's like what Jason Statham's character says in The Meg. When you go down that deep, you put your life in your own hands.
Yes.
Yeah.
Daniel Miller.
I think Jaws, not just in terms of this creature feature or shark horror movie, it's more than that. It's a movie that defined a whole new type of movie, the summer blockbuster.
Yes.
It broke records from movies like Gone with the Wind and many other classics that came before it, and it set a new precedent on that. On top of that, we saw Steven Spielberg. Effectively, this is the movie that made his career, although before this he did Duel and Sugarland Express. This was the movie that put Spielberg on the map and showed his power as a filmmaker, from juggling deadlines and working within budgets and technical difficulties. Jaws, to me, as well as being the first movie I ever watched growing up as a kid, it's also the movie that's made me think of what I wanted to do with my life in terms of wanting to make movies. There's also a film that I end up coming back to for many other reasons, especially for the shark itself. Sharks, even to this day, although we've done copious amounts of research with various species all around the world, there is still a lot we don't know about them. And they still continue to terrify us because of Jaws, the movie, and its soundtrack, and for some people, even Peter Benchley's novel. But it's the very nature of their being, from their design, which looks fish-like, but it's also sleek, it's elegant, and it's also unnerving. And Quint described this perfectly. When a shark looks at you, it's like these lifeless eyes, black eyes, like a doll's eyes. At first, he doesn't appear to be anything until he bites you. Then those black eyes roll over white. The ocean turns red. You have that high pitched screaming. Then you know it's living. Which, that monologue description of the sharks attacking the crew of the Indianapolis was brilliant, and it actually emphasizes more on how these sharks appear at first when you see them for the first time. Then when they attack you, it's layers upon layers of mystery on one of the oldest survivors on this earth for millions of years, long before the dinosaurs and long after them too. So
besides the crocodilian, sharks are literally the oldest animal on the planet.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, Jaws and shark movies in general, good or bad, they're always going to have some form of entertainment and special place for many people, whether they be people who just love watching movies, people who want to be entertained, as well as people who have a genuine passion and curiosity about the creatures in our oceans, which even they are still unexplored. Who knows? Maybe there might be a bigger shark out there. There might be a new shark that we have no idea still exists, or even
the most scariest shark you could ever want to meet is a gay shark.
Yeah, true. But yes. Yeah, absolutely.
Yes.
Jaws,
so
choppy.
Loved it. That's all I have to say.
Yes.
Are you finished?
Yes.
He's got
I think you put Anthony to sleep.
Right. So, Mr. Jedi Grand Velle.
Well, to kind of partay in what the professor was saying, in fact, it's good that he mentioned this. You know, sharks are always going to be a very just wonderful subject to deal with, because let's be honest, they're still a mystery. I mean, no matter how far we make films where we do them in a serious way or do it a parodied way, they're always going to be some sense of, something that they'll entertain us, that brings out the dread, that brings out the joy, that brings out our, fascination with them, and kind of like what he mentioned, Professor mentioned, dinosaurs. There's another subject that keeps to this day plays on our own, like fascination with, because we've been noticing dinosaur films since the beginning of moving pictures. We've been seeing so many iterations of dinosaurs, whether they be very chunky and men's in costumes or stop motion, to recently, CGI, and we got a film coming out called Jurassic World Rebirth, which I hope does a very good job, because Garrett Everett's going to be directing it. But the simple fact is, that's a animal or species that's non-existent. Although, do we know for sure? I mean, could some dinosaurs be still living? I mean, sharks are kind of a relevant to what they were millions of years ago. So I mean, that's
technically birds are dinosaurs.
Yes,
chickens.
Yeah, the closest relative to dinosaurs. Well, let's put it like this: dinosaurs have two common relatives: the archosaurs, which contrives of the birds, and the crocodilians.
Yeah.
So just to finish off, that fascination is still there, and there's no reason why Jaws shouldn't go another 50 years, because it's always going to fascinate us as the human mind absorbs these kind of things. So
definitely couldn't agree more. As for me, I've always had this fascination with the water and with sharks and the mystery of the ocean. Like you say, only probably 2/3 of the oceans have actually been explored, so we still don't truly know the full depths of what's down there. And sharks are a huge part of that mystery. And because of that, Jaws kind of distilled a certain image of what that mystery possibly could be. It could be full of danger and fear and teeth. But in most parts, sharks are not that dangerous. They kind of keep themselves to themselves. But Jaws, of course, is a film that will always, be a mixture of excitement, fear, horror, and just total fun. And I'm so glad that it's continued to inspire filmmakers and general audiences around the world. So happy birthday to Jaws. Happy birthday to reaching 50. And, I guarantee you Jaws is going to be around for another 50 years.
Oh, definitely.
For sure.
Yes. I finally would like to thank each and every one of my amazing guests that's made, this night a fun night. I've had a blast listening to all your ideas and recommendations, good, bad, and ugly shark movies. Can't wait to do another one, a Let's Talk Live, where we just talk the shit and talk about the subject that we'll all enjoy. So this has been a good one. So for me and my guests, everyone have a good night. And as always, keep the love of Jaws alive.
Baby.